Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for taking time over your lunch hour to join us. I'm Nick Frontino. I'm Managing Director of the Economy League of Greater Philadelphia. And the name of this session is the Well City Challenge, Stimulating Inclusive Civic Innovation. We're going to have a conversation about the importance of both inclusivity and innovation in the context of social impact in Philadelphia. And we're going to preview the Well City Challenge, which is a new Economy League initiative launching next month that'll bring awareness to millennial health and mental health issues by supporting new ideas from the Philadelphia community. We'll be helping social entrepreneurs launch and grow ideas to address millennial health and mental health using workshops, a pitch competition, mentorship, and access to funding. This initiative is part of the Economy League's Emerging Impact Labs, a line of programs to support community ventures and social enterprises advancing innovative solutions to complex civic challenges in Philadelphia. Now, I want to share a bit on why we're doing this work, more on the Well City Challenge and how that program will work, and then we'll have a conversation about how we're working to drive social impact in Philadelphia. I'm joined by three colleagues who each bring important experience and perspective and are active contributors to our work. We have Phil Fitzgerald, Executive Director of Grant Making for the Philadelphia Foundation and a member of our Well City Challenge Advisory Committee. Karnika Gupta, a Corporate Strategy Manager for Independence BlueCross and a key program partner for the Well City Challenge. And Oscar Wang, founder and CEO of College Together and the grand prize winner of Impact Lab's inaugural challenge, last year's Full City Challenge, which focused on supporting food-related community innovations in Philadelphia. So I want to set the stage for our conversation by asking a basic question. What do you think it'll take to drive change around Philadelphia's most complex social challenges? And feel free to share your thoughts in the chat. Obviously, there are a number of different ways you can answer this question. At the Economy League, we believe we can open up paths to progress by focusing on two main things. Number one, by inviting more diverse voices into the work of social impact and civic change, by really expanding the tent of who gets to engage in this kind of work. And number two, by making more room for experimentation and innovation in a civic context, because we know that experimentation and even failure are part of the journey to success. Basically, we believe that it's not realistic to expect change in Philly if we keep asking the same group of people to apply the same sets of ideas for addressing complex social challenges. And that's the spirit behind the Economy League's Impact Labs. So we launched Impact Labs last year with the Full City Challenge, a rapid incubator focused on identifying and supporting new collaborations that leverage our region's robust food economy to address the acute problems of hunger and poverty in the Philly area. And we partnered with Billy Penn to both raise awareness of big local challenges around hunger and poverty, and then worked with 5 teams of social entrepreneurs to develop and refine ideas for addressing these problems. So we'll hear from grand prize winner Oscar in a bit about this experience. But this year, we're delighted to be building on that Impact Labs model and working with presenting sponsor Independence BlueCross to launch the Well City Challenge. On October 26th, we'll be putting out a call for ideas to the community for ideas from Philly's everyday innovators that can help address health and mental health challenges confronting the generation of individuals born between 1981 and 1996. We'll then invite a select group of applicants to participate in a social venture incubator, a pitch competition, and impact accelerator curriculum where we'll work with teams to develop and refine ideas into impactful ventures. Participating teams will have access to a network of expert advisors, deep learning experiences, and a shot at over $100,000 in prizes, all told. You can sign up to receive updates on the Well City Challenge at Economy League/Well City, and I'm posting the link in our chat right here so that you can subscribe for updates right now if you'd like. Now, the Well City Challenge is in response to alarming findings on the health of the millennial generation. That's individuals born between 1981 and 1996. That are the result of research conducted by the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association's Health of America initiative. And we'll get more into the specific challenges later, but the top line finding is that millennials suffer from more health challenges than prior generations. And both COVID-19 and the movement to dismantle structural racism that 2020 has brought us have exacerbated these challenges, particularly on the mental health front. But why focus on millennials? Well, people born between 81 and 96 make up the largest generation in the U.S. workforce. And at the Economy League, we know that a healthy local economy depends on healthy people. And here in Philly, we have a large and diverse population of folks born within that time period. And we know that the lived experiences of these people varies dramatically across race, gender, neighborhood, and income level. And that's why we're placing an emphasis on lifting up community-led solutions. We know that our communities, our networks of families, friends, neighbors, and coworkers can play a huge role in maintaining and supporting our individual and family health. So the Well City Challenge will be looking for ideas that address health challenges within 3 categories: food and nutrition, mind, body, and community and social connection. Now, there's plenty of research that demonstrates strong connections between each of these categories and health outcomes. What and how we eat has a considerable influence on our health, both physical and mental. Proactive care of our bodies and minds results in a wide range of health benefits. And research has shown that engaging with your networks and partaking in social activities results in a variety of physical and mental health benefits. And we know that COVID-19 has placed real constraints on how we socialize and connect with these networks. So we're confident that Philly's everyday innovators will come to us with great ideas for engaging their communities around health challenges and making a real impact on the ground. And if we're successful through the Well City Challenge, we'll broaden the tent of social impact work in Philly and make a little bit more room for experimentation and innovation. So with that background, I want to start our conversation. We're going to get into what we're collectively working on and what we're working on trying to achieve through Impact Labs and how you can get involved. We'll talk a little bit more about the Well City Challenge, and feel free to post your thoughts and questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to get to them. So, Oscar, I'd like to start with you. I gave the brief intro to Oscar. He's founder and CEO of College Together. I'd like you to talk a little bit about College Together and the concept that you brought to the Full City Challenge. Provide some of your reflections on the value that the Full City Challenge brought, and then where you stand with your work right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick, and thank you to everybody who's eating their lunch at home and probably juggling toddlers and family during this lunch hour. Thank you to Nick and the Economy League for putting this together. We were honored to be the first winners of the Full City Challenge, which we very much described as Philly's Shark Tank. And I think what really made the Full City Challenge special for us was that it was an incubator not just for startup ideas, but for risky ideas that could potentially make a big impact by leveraging Philadelphia's food economy. So with College Together, I'll start with sort of an overview of what we do. Our mission is to build a new and trusted college option for Philadelphia's youth, 18 to 25, where they achieve degree completion and actually earn a college diploma, and they advance economically as well in a job and a career. And how we did that and how we do that now is by combining the worlds of higher education and workforce development. And so for us, it was eliminating the choice for young people to work or go to school, or to abide by this really worn out idea that you go to school for, 3 to 4 years or 5 years, you take on a lot of debt, and then like a house, you flip that degree for a job later. A lot of our young people here in Philly and across the entire region don't have time to make that choice, to sacrifice now and get a job later. They needed an economic foundation now. So what we did within the Full City Challenge is develop an idea where youth can earn an accelerated debt-free college degree and learn professional skills and gain income in a supportive job placement in the food economy at the same time. So without having to choose between working or learning, they finish a degree in as little as a year and earn income instead of taking on debt, all while being supported and mentored in a learning community that really mimics the best parts of college together in one concept. And so we came up with this idea by looking across Philadelphia, seeing where the gaps are, and seeing the need, one, not just for young people to have a new, efficient, and trusted option for college that didn't put them in a lot of debt, that didn't have a 10% graduation or success rate. And we link that with the need in the food economy for reliable young people to advance in the industry and the plethora, pre-COVID at least, of jobs that were out there. And, I would say, Phil can talk about this as well, that the Full City Challenge for us was more than just, earning a really awesome check. I would actually say that I was more excited by the giant fake check that we won that I ran around Philadelphia with. Like I just won, some kind of game show. But it was really about the connections, the mentorship, the ability to take an idea, work with the Economy League, work with mentors like Phil, to be able to build that idea over time and to really refine it. And I could talk a little bit later about how important it was for us to be connected to CIC Philadelphia in University City, where I am actually at right now, which was a sponsor of the first Full City Challenge. We are now full clients and tenants of CIC on 36 and Market. The amount of folks who've emailed us through learning about us, reading about us on Billy Penn, or tuning in to the Full City Challenge, or being there for the incubator day, who've contributed not just money, but advice, connections, harsh feedback to help us workshop this idea. Because as we all know, it's not the idea that builds something great. It's the process of forging that idea, the fits and starts of building something and workshopping it that truly makes something work. And so the Full City Challenge, more so than a check or just the brand name, it was the network of mentors, the credibility, the ability to build an idea from the ground up that really was important to us, and why we were honored to not just have been considered, to be part of Philly's own version of Shark Tank, in a way, to really to be part of a great network of fellow competitors, fellow entrepreneurs, to be able to build our idea to where it is now.
Great. Thanks so much, Oscar. We at the Economy League were thrilled to have the opportunity to support Oscar and his team. And he was one of 5 teams that went through the Full City Challenge, all of which have made real great progress, in the months since we completed that challenge last year. So, we kind of set the stage, or created the model for Impact Labs with the Full City Challenge. Really is more than just a competition with prize money at the end of the rainbow. We're really kind of invested in providing support throughout. And this year, we're thrilled to expand upon that model with the Well City Challenge, which is presented by Independence BlueCross. And we have Karnika Gupta, Corporate Strategy Manager from Independence, with us here today. And she's been a real key program partner as we've worked to develop the Well City Challenge. And I kind of set the stage for the focus on millennial health a little bit earlier. But Karnika, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and then tell us a bit more about the health challenges facing the millennial generation as BlueCross has found them, and then why IBX is partnering with the Economy League on the Well City Challenge.
Great. Thank you, Nick, for having me here today, joined by Oscar and Phil. We're so excited on behalf of Independence to participate in how we can improve the health of millennials through the launch of the Well City Challenge. Yesterday, we had another session where someone from our Blue Cross Blue Shield Association presented the findings of the 2019 report on the health of millennials. So for those of you who saw it or haven't seen it or read the report yet, I'm just going to go a little bit into kind of the challenges that we're seeing across this generation. So as Nick mentioned, for context, the millennials in this research were defined as those born between 1981 and 1996. I am a millennial, so I will say that these trends were alarming for me. And people in my family are millennials, those that I love. So I find this to be an incredibly important topic for me to talk about, think about, and take action on, which is what we're doing with the Economy League. So the report basically revealed that we're starting to see a major decline in the health of millennials beginning at the age of 27. Of the top 10 health conditions affecting those group people, 6 of the 10 were behavioral health focused, with depression and anxiety being amongst the top. 8 of the 10 conditions saw double-digit increases in prevalence from 2014 to 2017. And when compared to Gen Xers at the same age range, 34 to 36, millennials demonstrated an overall worse health by 11%. So needless to say, these trends are incredibly alarming. And we at Independence, when we saw these for the first time, we knew we needed to do something about it and raise the flag on addressing this issue. So we initially created a plan in partnership with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, which really allowed us to educate and raise awareness of the trends and the data that we were seeing, and spend time listening to people, not just in the communities that we serve here in Philadelphia, but across the nation. The work ended up culminating in a large national forum hosted right here in Philadelphia last November, where we issued a call to action to really bring together community leaders, millennials, providers, employers, and understand what we could be doing collectively to address this, and shifting our focus really from education and awareness and listening to action. So we decided we wanted to really go into the communities and work together to identify and build solutions. And for us, there was no better partner to do this than with the Economy League of Greater Philadelphia. Their great success with the Full City Challenge, as both Nick and Oscar described, was incredible. And their ability to be working with community organizations, bringing in people that normally wouldn't get the opportunity to participate in such an idea think tank, was great and exactly what we wanted to build off of. So the partnership is really going to bring together community-led and engaging solutions to how we can improve the health of just this generation. So you may be a millennial, people watching this, or you may have a millennial in your life that you care about. And even if you're not a millennial, these findings impact all of us. The generation of millennials are the people that are going to be leading our organizations in the future and driving change and bringing about lots of different unique solutions and ways of thinking that we've previously seen. And so I think we have a collective responsibility to find ways to ensure that we are changing their course of health. And that's why we're excited to be here and talk about this and advance the work now that we've already started.
All right. Thank you, Kernika. And I'm posting a link here for everyone. If you'd like to read more about the findings from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association study on millennial health, you can check out that link. So we are sobered at the Economy League by the findings, if not entirely surprised. I myself, I guess by the letter of the definition, am a millennial by a few months and, have seen a lot of these challenges firsthand in my friends and family and extended network. We're very excited to be delivering this program that we think will be able to surface and support community-led solutions. So I want to turn now to Phil Fitzgerald, Executive Director of Grant Making for the Philadelphia Foundation, as I jokingly like to call him our elder statesman of the group here today. Phil, you've been working in the philanthropic landscape, the civic landscape, for some time in Philly. You participated as one of our advisors in the Full City Challenge, and the Philadelphia Foundation has generously stepped up and provided support for the Well City Challenge, and you're involved in that as well. I'd love to, have you just introduce yourself, provide some reflections on your experience with the Full City Challenge, and then just say a bit about, why the Philadelphia Foundation has decided to invest in the Well City Challenge.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. As Nick said, I served as an advisor to Oscar and his colleagues during the Full City Challenge, and it was a fascinating experience. Clearly, Oscar and his team were pretty well prepared and didn't need much help from the advisors. That's why they won. So congrats again, Oscar. But through my participation in the challenge, I learned a lot about the wonderful work happening in the social innovation landscape. And I believe that 2 out of the 5 groups that were finalists have received funding through the Philadelphia Foundation. As a native Philadelphian, whenever I can find a way to get resources to people who are doing important work in our region, I see that as a win. So why the Well City Challenge? Well, the Philadelphia Foundation is investing in the Well City Challenge because it provides us with deeper connectivity to the civic innovation ecosystem. And there's a great opportunity to support the well-being of our region and its people, which is one of the core tenets of the second century strategy we have implemented as we serve the community for many years to come. The Economy League is a longtime partner with the Philadelphia Foundation, and Nick and his colleagues are leaders in this space, and we're happy to support their work. And finally, Oscar, his vision is clear, his passion is palpable. So hopefully the Well City Challenge will also yield some great new ideas and social entrepreneurs like Oscar for the Philadelphia Foundation to support it.
Hey, Nick, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. It didn't say mute on my thing. Okay. All right, I'm back. I'm glad you can hear me. So, thank you, Phil, for your support, both from the foundation itself and then you personally. A big part of what we do with the Impact Labs model is pair social entrepreneurs like Oscar with experienced leaders and experts like Phil to help work through some of the thorny challenges that come with trying to start up a social venture. So I want to get into some conversation here. I see that some folks, I think, have joined us midstream here. So we're talking about, the Economy League's work to really support social entrepreneurs through coming up a program called the Well City Challenge, focused on supporting and surfacing community-led ideas to address mental health and physical health challenges facing the millennial generation. And that's part of a broader set of work that we're doing under the rubric of Impact Labs that's really informed by two goals. One, to try and diversify the set of voices and people and expand the set of people that get to engage in social impact work. And then number two, to make some more room for experimentation, innovation, and even failure in a civic context, because we know that, the journey, including failure sometimes, is part of the path to success here. So, let's step back and get back to this idea that if we want to drive social progress in Philly, we need to really effectively cultivate and sustain a culture of experimentation and innovation. So this is important both for identifying and advancing new and more effective solutions, but also for expanding the community of people who are engaged in the work of social impact. So, I'd like each of your take on where Philly stands on this front. How are we doing supporting community members as social entrepreneurs? And how are we doing kind of embracing new folks who are looking to innovate or do things a little bit differently. Oscar, as someone who is, kind of on the front lines of this work, I'd love your perspective on, how the ecosystem, quote unquote, is set up to support you.
Yeah, I would say that Phil's way more qualified than me to speak on the particulars of, the ecosystem. But I would say that from a founder's perspective, I'm bothered by some of the narratives I think social entrepreneurs and nonprofit founders, are put on in terms of when they're trying to start an idea. There seems to be I wouldn't call it a consensus, but a thread of thinking that there are too many nonprofits in Philadelphia. There are folks who've told me, hey, don't start something new. I personally greatly dislike the idea of don't reinvent the wheel. I think that mistakes the idea of duplication versus efficiency versus a truly innovative idea that can have impact. Because we have to admit that the wheel, so to speak, using that metaphor, is is not working for a lot of people. And if our city had gotten, and if existing structures had gotten things right, all of our jobs would be a whole lot easier, and there wouldn't be the need for constantly new and spreading ideas to solve problems we've been talking about for generations. So for me, I would say, we cannot be focused only on function in this city. We have to be focused on outcomes. And function, what I mean by that is when you say, I'm going to start a college program or a food-focused program or a health initiative, folks will tell you somebody already does that. Some place already offers college classes, or there's already a health clinic, where you are, or there's already an initiative dealing with food insecurity. You should always look for ways that folks can collaborate and work together. That's something that we have to do better at as a city, is not work in silos or only have ideas that look one way and don't involve other folks. But we should be more willing to invest in risk takers, folks who are willing to say, hey, I have a new take on a long-standing problem that has affected communities for generations. And there's a whole another level of discussion, I would say, in terms of how do you do that in a community-based way that looks at communities not as folks just to be served, but who can be truly a part of not just service, but in building and investing in your actual model. I would say that with our organization, we've gotten a wealth of support, and we've been able to go into communities and be part of discussions, find folks like Phil and the Economy who've been willing to listen and invest in us. And so it's been a great, experience for us, but I think it does involve us looking past the worn out thinking that we cannot have anything new, that we cannot invest in risky ideas, or that there's simply too many organizations doing the same work. We need more people taking risks, more people who are working together, more people at the ground level who are thinking up new and innovative ideas that could be that breakthrough idea that then catalyzes everybody in the ecosystem to do better and lead to better results for our city.
Yeah, thanks, Oscar. I mean, this is kind of a double-edged sword, right? When you talk about the don't reinvent the wheel, and fragmentation and proliferation of different nonprofits is a challenge when you have kind of a limited pool of funding, but it can also end up stifling experimentation and innovation, right? Phil, I mean, this is the world that you kind of live and breathe in, and I know the Philadelphia Foundation is focused on these types of issues. What's your take or perspective on how we can balance those two kind of opposing forces between finding a way to allocate limited resources but making room for innovation and experimentation?
That's a good point. Because my thinking is, I completely agree with Oscar. I have not been guilty of saying that program already exists, you shouldn't do it. I say that program exists. Have you done your homework? Right? Is there a way to complement what's already going on? But I was talking to someone the other day, and he works nationally. So he was curious. He's like, we have all these great programs here in Philadelphia. Why aren't they being spread across the country? Why aren't they being scaled? Why aren't they being duplicated? So because we just don't have that. We just don't have that ecosystem here, like you were saying. And I think it goes back to what Oscar was saying. There's a proliferation of nonprofits in people's minds that already do, quote unquote, whatever that may be. And instead of being able to see what's innovative or taking a risk, we kind of go what's safe. And so we always joke about Philly being, parochial and being insular. But we are Philadelphia, and one thing we do really well is take care of Philly, right? Philly always supports and reps Philly. So we have to figure out a better way to make sure that people like Oscar's voice are being sort of elevated in Philadelphia. But then, if this is not the right place for Oscar to grow, this program might flourish in Detroit, or this program might flourish in Oakland, or X, Y, and Z, right? Figure out how to make those connections to other cities and other markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we try and do, with another Economy League program called the Greater Philadelphia Leadership Exchange too, right? I like the have you done your research, because really at the end of the day, what we're trying to do with our Impact Labs program is bringing folks into a program that helps kind of vet and connect them with the knowledge of what else is going on here, right? So that folks who have great ideas and the energy and passion to advance them aren't just going off into their own silos and trying to develop solutions that don't connect to the rest of the quote unquote ecosystem. So, I want to talk a little bit more about the Well City Challenge, Kernika. Part of what we are working to do with Independence is really activate the community, right? Is to elevate, community members as social entrepreneurs. And obviously, Independence BlueCross is active in advancing solutions to health challenges for millennials across a number of different fronts here. But I'd love to hear you speak to how IBX sees the Well City Challenge as a platform for community engagement and activation, and how that kind of fits into your broader strategy for trying to advance solutions to millennial health.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I mean, I think this challenge is really going to address some of what Oscar was mentioning. I mean, the issues are plenty, and there are great solutions, and sometimes it's just about a tweak in the solution that can make all the difference. And so it could be similar to something else that already existed, but that's what this challenge is trying to do. The beauty of it, I really feel, is we're inviting community members, we're inviting people who are suffering from mental health conditions, or people who have a loved one who has a mental health condition or a chronic health condition that is a millennial, and they know this condition inside and out. They know what it feels like to be on the caregiving end. They know what it feels like to experience it. And they don't need to have any special background or degree or experience. I mean, they just have to have an idea to apply to this. And I think that that's what makes this such a great opportunity for our Philadelphia community. like I said, like these issues have existed for a long time, and people are trying to find the next best thing for them. But we're going to be going into the communities this time, and I think that's what makes this so much more unique, and really engaging them to help build out solutions that they know will work amongst their own family, their own friends. And sometimes we miss that mark when we're doing things from a corporate lens, or when we're an organization that's just been focused on the same thing over and over again. So I think that this will really bring out the action piece for us on our campaign around millennial health. Like I said, we've done a ton of educating and awareness on it. We continue to do that. We continue to listen through our listening sessions that we've done here in Philadelphia and across the country to really understand what people are thinking and feeling, whether they are millennials or no millennials, and if they are seeing these same health conditions pop up in their regions. And it's been pretty unanimous. We've seen the same thing across everywhere. And so this challenge is allowing us then to take it to the next level and really find out how we solve this. And what can we be doing as a society to break that?
Right. Thanks so much, Karnika. So I see some questions coming in, and Phil, thanks for answering some questions. I'm going to pose one more question, to the group here. Part of the community engagement in Philadelphia here is ensuring that you're reaching a diversity of populations, right? Particularly when we talk about millennials, I think that the term millennial has a certain connotation to it around kind of socioeconomic status and race here. But we know that Philadelphia's population of people born between 1981 and 1996 is very diverse, right? And we want to make sure that the Well City Challenge is welcoming to every individual that fits that basic criteria, and is inclusive in its messaging. And this is a core tenet of Impact Labs, right? How do we make sure that we are engaging a diverse representation of individuals, of community members as social entrepreneurs? Phil, this is something that you guys are focused on broadly at the Philadelphia Foundation. What do you think it takes to ensure broad access to these types of programs and resources for community members in the city and the region?
Yeah, I think it's a mindset shift. I think the first question is, who is seen as an innovator and a thought leader, right? And whose voice and ideas are seen to have value. For years in philanthropy, we've been talking about democratizing the process, right? Letting all people see themselves as philanthropists who are able to contribute to society. I think the same needs to happen with the social innovation space. We need to let people know that everyone has a role to play and that there are resources to help them achieve their vision. And we need different points of entry beyond universities and think tanks, not that the Economy League isn't great, and venture capitalist networks. We need more community-informed and neighborhood-based resources where people who are closest to the problem can help solve the problem.
Yeah. Thanks. And, Oscar, as someone who both, is on the front lines as a social entrepreneur, but also someone whose program is really focused on reaching underrepresented communities, I'm interested in your take on this. What does it take to ensure that we're reaching a representative population of Philadelphians?
Yeah, I would say three things really quickly, Nick, and I completely agree with Phil. First, it's making sure. I think especially with the Well City Challenge, right? The term millennial is in there. And there's a very clear definition age-wise for what a millennial is. But, and Nick made that cut off by a couple months, right? But, I think there also is a bias in, the overall sense of, especially in the media, of a millennial. I've read a lot of think pieces, right, about millennials are always on Instagram and, they're not voting because they're not engaged. And, there's almost a privileged lens, I think, sometimes to that term. When you have to remember that, a certain age group does not speak about class, right? It spans class, it spans race, it spans geography. So when you're saying, oh, those millennials love Zoom and, are not focusing, or they're not going out and voting, it's not just because maybe they're not on Instagram, or maybe they're not, healthy, not just because they, love Chipotle as millennials do, but maybe they don't have access to healthy foods in their neighborhood. Maybe it's that, there's a digital divide and they're not able to get online in a certain way. Maybe it's that, they are from a different part of the city than someone that you're trying to target. So, I would say the second thing is when we look at accessibility, we're all about lowering barriers. But there's a difference between having standards and lowering barriers completely, right? So we were having a debate about admissions on our team the other day and looking at admissions requirements and really asking ourselves, one, are we going geographically to different types of locations in Philadelphia, talking to different people. But also second, if we're putting up some kind of barrier to admission, be it a short answer essay or an online application, are we thinking about things like, multilingual applications? Are we thinking about whether or not a certain requirement for an orientation program is going to fit as many people as possible, but balancing that with, hey, if 5 people can't make that, but we think this requirement's really going to benefit 95% of our students, should we do that? So there are trade-offs in terms of that as well. And then finally, we're thinking a lot more about how we invest in our students as leaders, where, could they one day work for us? We've talked to a lot of programs that have hired their own clients to not only serve on boards and have a true voice, but, to recruit other students or to mentor and tutor other people. And so to see the people you serve, not just as those needing help, quote unquote, but as folks who could become leaders and you can cultivate them to be part of your leadership team, that's something that we aspire to and that I think every organization should be challenged to think about, especially in 2020. So I would think about accessibility in those 3 ways.
Great. Thanks, Oscar. So, we're talking about work that we're all engaged in to advance civic innovation and diversity and inclusion in this work. The Economy League and Independence BlueCross are partnering on a new initiative called the Well City Challenge, focused on surfacing and supporting community-led solutions to millennial health challenges. We're launching October 26th. You can sign up for updates at the link I've posted here in the chat. I see a couple questions coming in, and I want to get to these questions. I think we have about 10 minutes left or so. So I see Chris Major makes the point that communities are the experts on community, and how is this initiative leveraging these experts? And, my response to that is that this initiative is squarely pointed at trying to support community members in, driving solutions, the development of solutions. So our call for ideas will go out broadly to anyone in Philadelphia communities who have an idea for addressing millennial health and mental health. And then what we'll be doing is connecting a select set of teams with resources to help develop, refine, and advance their ideas. So this is very much rooted in the notion that community members are the ones that are best positioned to be able to drive solutions, and that our role is to help support them in their work. I see another question here, Kernika, that was posed to you from Catherine Rapin here. Is this challenge happening in other cities? The answer now for now is no. But if not, why start here in Philadelphia? So can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I think the answer is 2-pronged in a way. One, Independence is a Philadelphia-based company, and we're the ones that are working with the Economy League. And so we're really focused on improving the health of millennials in Philadelphia. Does not mean that we aren't interested in improving lives of millennials across the country world. We very much are. And it's hopeful that some of the solutions that come out of this can be applied to other markets and geographic regions. I would say that I think we are going to start the challenge here and then maybe take this on the road. I mean, the future is bright and there's a lot of opportunity here. But I would say that we have certainly seen in terms of the data that millennials in Philadelphia are having high rates of mental health issues, hypertension, and diabetes. And we see that increased as compared to other areas in the country. So there is a need here right now, and that's why we're choosing to start here.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, look, Philadelphia has a poverty rate of 25%, and it's younger on average than the rest of the country too. And so we know those types of challenges around income and poverty are correlated with health outcomes. The social determinants of health is a field that is gaining in, I think, recognition. And there's a real need to understand exactly how some of the conditions that our young people are living in are affecting their health. And, I think the way that this program will be positioned to hear from community members themselves about the solutions they need will be a step in the right direction in surfacing solutions here. So happy to take additional questions from you here. Let me take a look here. So I see from Handel Carter here, mental health isn't spoken about in schools. Furthermore, in Black families, I didn't even know I was suffering from depression until I was 33. Is there a program working on normalizing these conversations? I'll just offer some of my own kind of personal perspectives here. I do think that at a very high level, we're in a place right now where some of these discussions are perhaps more welcome than they were 20, 30 years ago. There's still a lot more work to be done. And there's a lot more work to be done within certain cultures. Part of what we hope to see in terms of submissions and applications are ideas for raising awareness and reducing stigma around mental health. But Karnika, I'd love to hear any take that you have on this as well. I know that this is well within IBX's wheelhouse.
Yeah, so Handel, thank you so much for your honesty and kind of sharing that. That's so important. And that's exactly what you have done by sharing that, is breaking down barriers. And that is the first step in us trying to kind of educate, raise awareness, and reduce the stigma associated with mental health conditions. We launched a campaign with the city of Philadelphia in May called the #MindfulPHL Together campaign, that it was to do just that. To start people having conversations in the communities in Philadelphia to really talk about, mental health and knowing the signs of it and how to get help if you're having a crisis or if you just need someone to talk to. And so the website, mindfultogether.com, and we can probably post that in here, provides links to publicly available free resources. And so it's hard. This is the beginning, I think. I think people are just starting to become a little bit more comfortable, but it changes per culture, per family. I mean, I come from a culture where we don't really talk about it either, but people are starting to have those conversations because they're seeing the impact of it. So I think that by you and others sharing your stories, guiding people to be aware of what the signs are of mental health conditions is the first step. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Looks like, let's see, we have another question coming in. So Handel follows up and says, I think a good idea would be to partner with churches. Us Black folk, where did it go? Love our churches and we value the word of our pastors. So I think that's a great idea, Handel. I think you should submit an idea to the Well City Challenge when we launch on October 26th.
I agree.
Yes. So I also see another comment about mentioning the needs for accessibility of multilingual speakers. Philly does have a 15% population of immigrants. Immigrants have been driving a large share of the population gain that Philadelphia has seen over the past decade. Are there efforts in mind to target the different immigrant communities specifically? I'll say that, part of the way that we're getting the word out about this challenge is through a recruitment and selection committee that includes a variety of community organizations that have access to different cultural communities. So CMAC, some of you may be familiar with, it's in South Philly, that accesses the Southeast Asian, organizes and provides support to the Southeast Asian community, is represented. And we're really looking for ways to touch down in communities of all races and ethnicities here. So we welcome suggestions and thoughts on that front. And when we do have kind of our full detail up on the program on our website, there will be an opportunity for folks to provide input. So I know we're about running up on time here. I do want to first of all, I want to thank Karnika, Phil, and Oscar for joining me today in this conversation. I've had a lot of fun. I want to remind folks here, thank you for joining us. I want to remind folks that if you'd like to learn more about the Well City Challenge, which launches on October 26th, sign up to receive updates at the link I just posted in the chat. Actually, I may have just posted that in the questions here. I'm going to post it in the chat again. And we'll be out in the community much more broadly with information about the challenge, how to apply. Our call for ideas will open October 26th and last for about a month. So I hope this has gotten folks' wheels turning in terms of ideas that you might be able to pitch, and has also kind of placed in context what we're trying to do and how we hope it really helps move our civic ecosystem forward and allows progress on some of Philly's more complex social issues. So thank you, Phil. Thank you, Karnika. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you to everyone who has joined us and spent some time during their lunch hour. And we hope to hear from you when our call for ideas opens. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.